without knowing that you guys were about to turn the microphones on, Greg Cody just said to me, like as you were counting me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because he didn't have his headsets on, heard you had my nemesis Zaslow on yesterday. Zaslow says he's invited to your birthday party because you said everybody who's on air here is invited to your birthday party.
That's open to debate. Sorry, Zaslow. Don't count on it. I'm not in charge of that list, okay? I didn't even want it brought up. Christopher brings it up. All of a sudden, it's in the ether.
David Sampson wants to go, too.
Oh, he's invited.
Wow.
We love David Sampson. No, he's a big fan. Not sure about the and one.
He's a big fan. Of yours?
No, I'm a big fan of David Sampson's. I always have been.
All right, I'm a little worried, Chris. Here, he didn't know the microphones were going to come on, and he hasn't been really alert this week about everything that's happening around here. His stamina on Tuesday became a wonderful problem in that the whole show derailed for the last hour in the most wonderful way because his stamina fell apart because he'd been off for a month and he'd forgotten what it's like to get back on. Him doing 2 shows this week, you see how sluggish he's come out of the gate, right? Doesn't really know doesn't know he's on air, doesn't know, are we talking privately? Are we talking publicly? A lot. Tony, that is good. That is good analysis by you. Real lazy slop right out of the gate. Not giving us great strength out of the seat, but in honor of the spirit of the seat, maximum lazy. Because Jeremy came to me before the show today and said that the WFAN subreddit, and God almighty, that's a phrase I never wanted to utter. I don't want to be, I believe that to be the path in hell that has flames on the side, and every once in a while somebody jumps out of the shrubbery and stabs you with a pitchfork. It's the WFAN subreddit, like whatever that comment section is. But evidently it has turned violently on Stugotz. Stugotz thought he was going to go to New York and get some sort of hero's welcome because he's back in sports radio, and they're telling me that's not what's happened.
I thought the subreddit was bad, so I went to Twitter and was like, oh, maybe that'll be different, and then saw the first tweet. This tool, Stugotz, is the most annoying, non-talented person in sports media.
How bad is it? How bad has the reception been?
That bad.
Well, because Taylor around here has it's been interesting to watch Taylor, who thinks of Stugotz as a bit of a hero. And at the very beginning of all of this week, Taylor was very excited. And now he's mortified because he's seen the inner workings of the machine. And he wrote me at 6:30 this morning. It's just breathtaking how he goes to host New York sports radio and still refuses to watch what people want to talk about. I'm insulted how he cannot be bothered to watch what people are talking about. The worst part of it is all he needs to do is fake it through the Mets. It's his team. It's his team.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Chris Cody, what kind of dad are we going to get today? Is Greg Cody ready to rise above the slop that he just gave us in the first 4 minutes and give us greatness today the way that he did at the end of Tuesday's show when he became delirious and fell apart and the whole show fell in a ditch?
I think he's going to do fine, but I don't think he's going to be able to recreate Tuesday because it was a good show. He was on it, and he wasn't on it, but that's when you know how it works with him.
All right, he is here, and he is already swigging vigorously from the cup, which is something he normally does only when he has done something great, which he has not yet done today.
I'm anticipating greatness. That's why I'm taking a pre-greatness swig.
Okay.
You love to refer to a swig as vigorous.
Well, because of the way, look at the way you do it. Show me.
No,
Here,
do
it again.
Give it. No, because you do it. Because you do the Kermit sipping tea. I'm so good. I love all the things that I am. My God, my farts smell like roses. Like that. I'm so great.
You're getting all of that out of the way I sip coffee?
Does give it off.
You're getting all of that? Like I'm saying how great I am by the way
Put it on the poll, Juju. Does Greg Cody
God.
sip coffee as if he's incredibly pleased with himself?
Ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous. It's how it happens every time.
Again, he's anticipating greatness, Dan. He's getting his mind right
Thank
for
you.
the swigs of greatness later on by establishing the greatness of swigs now.
I tell you, Tony's got it right, man. He nailed it.
We'll see how good you are today without the constant support of Billy. Let's see if Tony can give you what it is
He's
that
already
you
done
need.
it.
Yeah, let's see.
Nobody said it better than Tony just now.
Thank you.
We will see together as a show. Look, I am intent. We celebrate our 20th anniversary this year, and I am intent over the course of the next year of really showing people the innards of our thing in all of the unpleasant ways, because Stugotz isn't faking it with this is a contract year. You know how I'm going to get a big contract? By being my worst possible self and let the bidding war start. And so we're going to have some messiness here. Some of the stuff that broke up Joe Budden and Rory and Mao, like some of that stuff is going to make an appearance, and I want everyone to see the innards of this. It's going to make people uncomfortable. But one of the things I want to show them is the constant Billy support that Greg gets on Tuesdays, that Greg has somehow been fooled into thinking is real and has made Billy one of the most popular characters in the history of this show because he's faking it on Tuesdays in his support of you.
No, it's real. And I told Tony before the show, if he supports me in a Billy-ish way, he's earned an invitation to my
Another great
to
point
my
by
big
Greg,
party.
Dan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tony. I tell you, man, the kid's learning.
Has
He's got it
wait,
nailed.
Tony's not yet invited to. Is Jessica invited? Jessica's invited.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. You
Jer-
got to draw the line somewhere. Tony's in.
But
He's in with the in crowd.
But where's the line for you?
What's that?
Where's the line for you?
Lewis, probably. Oh! I'm kidding. I know. It's just
What does
a
that mean?
joke.
If you're on the line, though, is it like tie goes to the runner, or is it like when it's on the line in tennis? That's in. That means that
It's
Lewis.
in, yeah.
That means Lewis is in, but he's right on the line.
It's like Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise slides right under the garage door. He's like, just getting in.
Yeah, that's all up to my wife. You know, anyone insulted by not being invited, blame Erlene.
Is Jeremy invited?
Oh, he's a member of the Hee Haw 3.
Yeah, come on, Dan.
Insane?
Don't try to sow
Of
division.
course.
I'm asking. I don't believe the audience knows who's invited to the 70th birthday party. It doesn't sound. Are you busy with your text? What's going on with your texts?
Look, I can't do everything at once.
Right, but so how about you just do the show?
Okay, how about what I was doing just now was turning down my volume so that
Good job, Greg.
You wouldn't hear
Mid-show, that's the perfect time to
phone,
do that.
You know, the phone goes off, and then you're yelling at me because it didn't turn my phone off. So that kind of thing. Yeah, Jeremy, he's a valuable member of the Hee Haw 3. Of course he's going to be there. There's a rumor that the Hee Haw 3 might perform a song at the party. I can't confirm that. I just made it up just a second, but
Lovely birthday cruise,
yeah,
perhaps.
It's been a lovely cruise.
Birthday.
We'll see.
Speaking of Greg Cody-related rumors, I am told that you question Ron McGill's almost died at the hands and the feet and the horns of a buffalo in Africa. I am told you question that story by sources, and I'm told after you said I'm a very good
See, that was not a vigorous swig. That was I don't know, what's the opposite of vigorous? That was a languid
Casual?
swig, a very casual swig, conveying not overconfidence or greatness, but the opposite.
After you announced that you are a very good bad driver, and we learned you ran into only one hunger wall in Ireland and also
Famine wall.
I'm sorry, my bad.
See where your head's
Kind of
at,
the
Dan.
opposite.
I mean, isn't? I feel like they're kind of synonymous there. Like if there's famine, there's hunger, but still, my bad. Famine wall, Great Potato Shortage of 1840. My bad. The thing that I was saying about his driving, he claimed to be a good bad driver, and we then learned he ran into a famine wall. He ran into something in a garage. He ran into shrubs, and then I was told by a source that you recently were in the car with some other people. I don't know whether you ran over the curb right then or earlier, but that the car had to be taken in for all 4 rims to be readjusted because of how poorly you generally drive.
I mean, like many people, I'll hop a curb occasionally.
What?
Pardon me. Sitting in this Stugotz chair has gotten to my voice.
Not the coffee.
No, Greg Coffee.
What?
Greg, just hit the off button. That's $15 in fines. Just hit the off
I already
button.
gave you a Euro 10 the other day. Would you invest
Take
that?
a 20 today.
Greg, just hit the
Where's
giant
the off
button.
button?
Hit the giant button that says off, the lower
all right,
left-hand
I got it.
corner
All right.
of a...
Okay.
He usually doesn't sit there, and he usually doesn't have control over his own microphone buttons.
Thank
So
you.
we should give him a little bit of time to adjust.
You.
$15.
You're already invited. You don't got to butter me up. Okay.
I'm hoping for a +2.
What, Willow? No dogs allowed. Sorry. No children other than my beloved granddaughter, and no dogs allowed unless they're service dogs. You don't want to get in the way of that. Heaven forbid I would prevent a dog from going on my birthday yacht because somebody claims they need a support animal. I mean, and maybe they do. Don't get me wrong.
Are you against service animals? Is that the take?
It's gotten out of hand. You can't go on an air. You can't walk anywhere now. And Le Batard brings a dog into a supermarket, which is ridiculous. You can't. I'm walking. I dealt with a lot of airports recently, going to, Ireland, and you can't go in an airport now without seeing dogs being walked through an airport. But you never see a dog take a crap in an airport. I always say to my wife, "What are you doing? The dog's got to go when it's got to go."
You say that to your wife.
But you never see a dog take a crap, but they must. I mean, what happens when a dog takes a crap in an airplane? The guy sitting next to him is like calling the stewardess or his flight attendant.
Most dogs are potty trained, right?
Are they?
Yeah.
Not my dog.
Jumpin' Charlie.
Good Lord.
They don't go to the bathroom that often.
I mean,
Anytime someone comes over my dad's house, Charlie starts peeing all over the floor everywhere.
it's
Oh, he's an
ridiculous.
excited peer.
I guarantee you, Le Batard's dog is taking a crap in the middle of the canned vegetable aisle.
Well, we know that,
Yeah,
and he didn't pick it
no
up.
question about that.
At Le Batard Show, I've got a
Canned vegetable.
number of different questions. You guys think I'd buy canned vegetables?
You buy 0 vegetables.
It's funny.
Tony's on it today, man.
Thank you, Greg.
All questions to be put on the poll at Le Batard Show. Have you ever seen a dog take a crap in the airport? Is it okay to bring a dog to the grocery store? And are you for or against service animals? Because Greg's going very close to. Look what?
No, you don't.
Talking to the mic.
Greg, the microphone. Just that's right. in
What
front-
is that picture?
What's the picture,
This
Greg?
microphone keeps falling. Don't paint
little
me.
flaccid.
Don't paint me anti-service dog, please. What I'm saying is, a lot of fraud going on with the service dog situation. Okay, if you truly need a service dog, more power to you. Bring it anywhere you like, except on my birthday yacht.
Except in my row.
What's that?
Except in your row.
Oh, I mean, it's just I don't want to be in a row with I would rather be in a sitting next to a caterwauling baby, infant, than
It's just
than
a
a
bad
dog.
decision by you.
It's not true.
Put that on the
Caterwauling?
poll.
Caterwauling.
What does that mean?
bawling, a bawling baby, BAWLING.
How are you feeling right now about how everything's going?
I feel great.
Yeah, you feel like
I'm
it's
taking
going well?
vigorous swigs out of my coffee, so I must feel great. No, that's fine. But to reiterate, I am not anti-service dog. I don't mean to. The last thing on earth I want to do is demean people who genuinely need a service dog. I'm pro-dog. I've owned several dogs, buried all but one of them.
What?
The
What are
current
you
one,
talking
yeah.
about? Yeah, Jumpin' Charlie is alive and well.
Riley was not buried.
Well, you don't use the word buried literally.
Well, you actually literally buried a few of your cats many years ago.
Right, yeah, in shoeboxes.
Puddin'.
Puddin'.
Yeah. Wow, Puddin'. I'd forgotten about her. Or him, whatever it was. I think it was a gal cat.
A gat.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine being dumb enough to bury a cat in a shoebox. As if that's a casket. As if the shoebox will not disintegrate in the earth in a matter of weeks. But somewhere in my backyard.
Aren't your deck shoes back there, too?
Yeah. And you never remember where you buried something, So Puddin's over here, the deck shoes are over here. It's just a crapshoot whether or not you dig.
You didn't make a little
subliminally.
marker, though, Greg?
No.
A tombstone?
No.
For Puddin'?
Unmarked grave.
I have
Popper's grave.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a number. I think that is what Earl Woods' wife did to Earl Woods because she was so mad that Tiger's dad, her husband, cheated on her and shamed her. I'm pretty sure he
Buried him in the backyard?
buried him in an unmarked pauper's grave somewhere
grave,
that
yeah.
doesn't even have a name on it. I'm pretty sure that happened. But I have a number of different questions for Greg Cody based on everything I just learned. And what I believe to have been just the articulation of one of the saddest cemeteries I've ever heard of. 2 cats in shoeboxes, one of them named Puddin', I'm assuming, no G at the end, just an apostrophe,
Yes,
hanging
correct.
in that box that's not a coffin, and a couple of 30-year-old boat shoes. Like, that's unbelievable. That's a sadder cemetery than the one Earl Woods is in. Like, that's an unbelievably sad cemetery.
Why?
Because, what do you mean, why? Listen to what you just described. There are many dead cats as there are shoeboxes with dead cats, as there are shoes. In fact, there might be more shoeboxes. I don't remember how you buried the boat shoes. Are they in a shoebox or are they just 2 straight shoes?
Inexplicably, there's 2 things buried. There's a cat and shoes. For some reason, the cat is in a shoebox and the shoes aren't.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point by you. I think Yaz is also buried
Oh,
in my
God.
backyard.
Is that a person or is that a...
No, I named.
Isn't that a birth control?
You know what?
Isn't that
that always annoyed me that they purloined the great nickname Yaz into a birth control pill, which I think is now defunct. But my first adult cat I named Yaz after my childhood hero. And I think Yaz is also buried in my backyard, but I can't remember. Your mother would know, Christopher.
I'll ask her.
How is it? I mean, I can't believe there are many people in our audience who have buried something in their backyard and can't remember. Like, put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Have you ever buried something in your backyard and now can't remember whether you did or not?
It's years ago.
I understand that that's what you're blaming the memory loss on, but if I were to bury a beloved thing in my yard, I would remember whether or not I had done it.
Doubt it.
You guys think I'm the weird one here?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't believe that I'm the weird one here.
People don't do that, especially today. Maybe that was a thing like in the 90s.
Bring it back.
Jack.
What better way to memorialize a dearly departed pet than to keep him or her close?
My grandfather also
photo?
buried dogs in the backyard of my mom's childhood home. Like, there was a dog, Leon, who, lion in English, he looked like a lion, buried him in the backyard.
Yeah, thank you.
But in a shoebox?
Oh, not in a shoebox. He was a big dog.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Puddin' barely fit in that shoebox.
Oh my God! So now you're squeezing a cat, a dead cat, in tightly to a.
A dearly departed cat.
Get him a bigger shoebox.
Does Puddin? Is there a G at the end of that or not?
No, there's not. It's an apostrophe, as you said. Shoeboxes, by the way, are getting huge now. Has anyone else noticed that? Shoeboxes, they always used to be the exact same size, the little shoebox rectangle that everyone was familiar with. Now, a shoebox, they can be this, they're unnecessarily big. So in the modern day, Puddin would have fit very comfortably in today's shoebox. It's only in yesterday's shoebox that it was a tight fit.
Is he right about that? Because I know that some high-end shoes have bigger shoe boxes,
Giant.
but those aren't the ones you're buying. You're not buying buying
Skechers.
anything over $100. I know some of the best stylish, not just dress shoes, but Nike and popular shoes might come in a more ornate packaging meant to give off this is a treasure chest.
Yeah, ridiculous.
But not the shoes you're buying. The Skechers I'm sure you're wearing again today.
No, I'm wearing my deck shoes. Thank you. My Skechers cost in the neighborhood of $80. If I'm paying $100 for a pair of shoes, there better be a couple of $20 bills in each shoe, because it's ridiculous. It's like people, spending thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars for an autograph or a piece of memorabilia. It's ridiculous.
He's right. Bring back cheap shoes.
Yeah, right.
Tony, I'm surprised to hear you say that. That's in support of you, but Tony does not agree with what
No,
he's
he's
saying.
a shoeaholic.
A shoey.
Tony loves expensive shoes. I've got more questions. One of them being, who's to blame for Jumpin' Charlie's lack of discipline? Jumpin', a second pet that you have that has no G, another apostrophe, correct?
Yeah, jumping, right.
The irony, 'cause
JC.
you're a big G guy.
You've got both the G's in your name that you wouldn't give to your cats.
Puddin was before my marriage. I mean, Puddin was named and reared by Erlene.
Jumpin' Charlie is a bad dog because of you.
Jumpin' Charlie's not a bad dog.
He is
Yeah, he's a lot.
Beautiful dog.
Greg, he pisses himself when the company comes over. That's
He's
textbook.
excited.
He chews up your sofa.
He used to. He's not as bad about that now.
He won't stop jumping up and down.
That's true. That's true.
His name's Jumpin' Charlie, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
not Sitting Charlie.
I ain't lying with that name. Yeah, and he's got, and he won't get a nail clip at the vet. That's a problem. The vet gives me sedatives to give the dog now. Next time I bring the dog in for a nail clip, 4 hours before the appointment, I have to give the dog sedatives so he won't go so crazy getting his nail
At
clipped.
Le Batard Show, is your dog a bad dog if the vet has to drug it to calm it down? I don't know how you define a bad dog if all of the things I'm putting in front of you, chews everything up, won't stay off the furniture, won't stop jumping around, and pisses itself when the company comes over, and we have to sedate the holy hell out of it in order to get it to interact with the vet.
I'm
Beautiful
insulted.
dispossession.
I'm insulted here because when I used to pee on company, you'd get really mad at me, but Charlie
Okay.
can do it.
Yes, exactly. Charlie's still, an old puppy. He just turned 2 in March or April, and so he's still a young dog, learning, teaching, absorbing, getting better. Doesn't chew, Barbie dolls and furniture nearly as much as he used to.
Can you guys get for me what's happening with the WFAN subreddit? Is Taylor out there ready so that he can give me an update on everything going on with Stugotz? Because we are headed into a contract year, and while some of you are going to get tired of me talking about Stugotz here or not being here, we kind of have to fill the chair when he's not here. Greg Cody has done so magnificently this week. A lot of you loved Zaslow here. I believe that this chair is the best chair anywhere in sports media.
Wow.
I want to get to everything that's happening in sports media because I don't think Tim Legler's going back to ESPN. It seems like Around the Horn is going to be gone soon. And so in pieces, ESPN is making fundamental changes that I want to talk about because the media, I don't know. Tim Legler is great. And I look around and I'm like, and where's he going to work next? Like, where are the places for great people now that the market is shrinking? Stugotz seems to think he's still living in the golden age of media when you can go to WFAN, starve for a week, and parlay it into something, but he doesn't seem to be noticing that all of media is collapsing all around him. Is Taylor now ready, Chris Cody, so that I can go to him? Taylor, what is going on so far this week with your experience listening to Stugotz? I felt for you, right? Because sports radio is terrible. New York sports radio is a special kind of acidic, and Stugotz not trying and doing New York sports radio is not something I would ever want to listen to. So how has that gone for you?
Yeah, I'm perusing the Reddit right now on WFAN. It's not going well, to say the least, but I'm insulted that Stu couldn't even be bothered to watch the Subway Series with this dead period in sports. The Yankees and the Mets are playing. It was basically served up for him on a tee. Hey, you just have to watch these games. And to be honest with you, I'm more embarrassed in myself that I thought he would try this week.
Well, here's a funny thing about you thinking that he would try. In terms of on a platter, how little effort he's being asked to make, it's not even 2 baseball games he has to watch. He's just got to watch the Yankees play against the Mets. They could talk about that for 4 hours there. It's just one regular season game. The Mets won 12-3. Hey, Grimace is great. Let's talk about that. Do you have any sound there, Chris? Because you told me before the show that the hosts have already figured out that he is not in a good camouflage, that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Do you believe me now that the Yankees are in trouble? Did this game and this series prove to you that this team right now...
First off, did you watch the game last night?
I did not watch the game. As I mentioned before, Eddie, I was walking around the street smoking joints.
Did you watch the highlight package?
I didn't watch the highlight package. What I do is I let Gio set the scene, and then I just respond to whatever it is that Gio says. What? Let me ask you something.
This is why your takes are what your takes are on the Yankees, because you just look at the record. You're like, it's not so bad. Anybody who thinks that Aaron Boone's going to be fired this morning, it's just he's not going to be fired this morning.
He's not getting fired. What do you want him to do? What is he supposed to say to Garrett Cole before he goes
exactly.
out?
Yeah.
And gives up 6 runs last night against the New York Mets. How do you like that, Eddie, for a guy who didn't watch the game, huh?
It is wonderful. You pulled that out of somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me just say this.
He's got the box score up in front of him.
Listen, I have made a career out of reading box scores.
Yeah. You are the patron saint of slackers. You really are.
Well, thank you.
You are pure sloth, and it's really admirable.
You're my guy, Eddie.
I'm looking at the shipping container. The shipping container, I can't register what is happening there. It feels like cringy disgust from people who love him.
He's playing his hits. Like, this is we know this monster. So like I've heard that sound a dozen times where he's just like, yeah, look at the box score, and they're marveling at it.
Could argue that he's in peak form. He's doing Stugotz the best that he possibly can in that clip.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be doing it so much better now at WFAN. Like, watch the game, have a take, come on strong, and then you can come back here and be like, see, Daniel, look how good I was. I still got the fastball. Let me know.
Taylor, what do you got out there?
It's one thing when he's doing it on this show. I'm in South Florida, away from New York. I listen to WFAN because it's cathartic for me. I want to hear the host bash DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, a lack of hustle, a bad pitching staff. It's like he's in my house now, and he's making a mess.
Taylor's disgusted. Taylor was, at the beginning of this, he was buoyant. Like, on Tuesday, he was floating on clouds around here, and now it's as if those clouds are covered in battery acid.
I'm going to defend Stugotz, okay? He's too big to give you an audition, okay? Stugotz is what he is. We all love him. He's going on WFAN to be Stugotz, not to all of a sudden transmogrify into this expert who watched all the games and has this unique takes. No, he's bigger and better than that.
Taylor?
I do have to give him some credit, though, because he started to win me back today because he played a great game. If George Steinbrenner was still alive, where you say if George Steinbrenner was still alive, and then you give a take. So I think his was if George Steinbrenner was still alive, Juan Soto would never hit free agency. And he said that, and I was kind of like, I'm back.
Yeah, good take.
Yeah, he's totally right about that.
You're always one good game away from getting everybody back, by the way. One good game.
Chris, what are you yelling at your father about? Your father's discussed it at the start of the segment. This is now, I think, the 4th or the 5th straight segment going back to Tuesday where you've had to yell at your father as they're counting us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Headphones, headphones, Dad, headphones.
The one thing he has to do before the segment. What is that photo?
It's a photo of myself when I was...
That's you?
Yeah, when I was about 17 or 18 years old.
Huh.
Thank you.
That Cody knows.
I just noticed it today in my office.
Why?
And,
I'm going to take a nap now.
I don't know. I noticed it.
Chris, this is what it's going to be for Bronny when he plays late in his career with LeBron. Dad, the ball. Bring the ball up,
Imagine
Dad.
LeBron dribbling up the court, and then I found a picture of myself.
Then he just dribbles out of bounds. Yes,
Dad,
just dribbles
a little
out
more
of bounds.
energy.
Now, his narcissism, Chris, I feel for you, honestly, because my father, I've dealt with this, and your dad has aged more rapidly than my father because he drinks. You drink 12 beers a night. My father didn't do that.
Why not?
But I'm saying your deterioration has been faster than my
I
father's.
appreciate you saying that, Dan. Thank you very much. That's so kind of you to say.
But Greg, why are you're sitting here instead of focusing on the show we're doing?
I got a laser focus, and you know it.
Instead of focusing on the show that we are presently doing, pretty popular show, a lot of people listening, a lot of people watching.
Right.
You're doing the side project of neglecting the audio audience that we are still beholden to more than any other.
Love the audio audience.
So you show a picture. So you're preoccupied at the start of a segment, not putting your headset on because you're very busy putting out for an audio audience that cannot see it, a picture of you as a 17-year-old that you've explained to no one in the room.
Right. Correct. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
You trying to build our YouTube audience? Like, what are you doing here?
Use your imagination. I refer to a picture of myself at 17 or 18 years old. You don't see it, so what are you going to do? Use your imagination. What did I look like at 17 or 18? What did any of you look like at 17 or 18?
Macaulay Culkin?
That's right about that.
Thank you, Tony.
That's what it looks like from back here, at least.
Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but...
Yeah.
It's black and white. It is like one of those photographs that was taken by a guy with gunpowder hiding under a curtain in the 1910 saloon.
Yeah.
The one picture of your great-granddaddy that still exists from back then. He wouldn't understand the iPhone at all, your great-granddaddy,
Damn right
who
he
had
wouldn't.
one photograph of him taken that way.
Yeah.
Chris, you should save this for your father as a young man almost predates photography. Your father as a young man is something that your granddaughter is going to want to remember because your dad has been drinking 12 beers a day for 30 years and he's deteriorating at a rapid rate of speed. And so,
ridiculous. I mean, come
Greg,
on.
you've been coughing for 6 straight years.
I
here.
haven't coughed in 6 years.
Greg, you passed out at High Life from trying to stifle
Yeah,
coughs.
but that was a while ago. The new me doesn't cough.
You fell at bowling like 2 months ago.
All right. I tripped.
What happened?
I tripped and fell. Sue me.
Thought you fainted.
People do that. I may have fainted. I don't know. What difference does it make? It's
Greg, I
after
mean,
the-
they got greasy. The lanes are greasy, though. That's the thing, too.
Yeah, Bob Greasy.
What?
Whether I tripped or
Brian.
fainted, what difference does it make? Water under the bridge.
Jeremy, I know that our audience is getting irritated with this, but I really do want to know what the reaction is to Stugotz because Stugotz is trying to parlay WFAN into a career move here or elsewhere. Like, he's not hiding that. That's something that he's trying to do as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. And so the reaction, what else as part of the reaction has made you wince and cringe in the commentary on, I can't believe that what I'm using for content here is the WFAN subreddit.
Who the hell is he? He sits there like he's freezing, cap pulled down and a smirk on the whole time as he carries on like some big shot guy come down to sit with the kids. Okay, let's see what he has, ... all capital letters, nothing. What the fuck?
I mean, the first one, it wasn't all that right about. I mean, Stugotz is big man on campus, coming down with the hat tilt down, a little grin.
Stugotz is bigger than anybody at FAN not named Boomer Esiason. Bigger than any one of them. That's not up for dispute. That's not.
And also smaller.
And also smaller. And also trying the move. He's been hiding under his hat for 4 years, hoping nobody notices he doesn't know anything. And what the move that he's doing, I remember, God, what was the name? I think it was Jose Robles, a University of Miami second baseman, baseball player who was like 5'4", and his teammates would just yell at him from the dugout and the field, "Hey, who left the cap on the field at second base?" Because he was so small.
That's funny.
Stugotz at the end of this just wants to be a baseball cap that is in front of a microphone, and you don't even notice whether it's there or not. It's just Chris Cody hitting a laugh track on his behalf because he's trying to physically hide. But he rolls like a big shot because all he's doing in New York is collecting parking fees. What's the sound that you said that you had for me, Chris, on
You're going to love this one,
on
Dan.
him explaining how it is? I don't even know. What do you need a car for in New York? I don't believe the grand majority of people in New York do not have a car, correct?
Yeah, it's very expensive, as we will hear about in this clip.
Unless you got someone else covering the bill.
And you found free street parking, I'm sure?
I did not. No. Parking garage.
For
It's been there for 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Le Batard's paying for it, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, is he?
Well, you're not.
Well, I know we're not. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't personally, nor would the company.
It's been sitting there. I got it Monday.
Oh.
So it's been sitting on the Lower West Side for 3 or 4 days now.
All right, that's over under $1,200. What do you think? Over or under 1,200?
$1,200.
Yeah.
If I show up there,
yeah,
and the guy tells me, "Hey, $1,200," I'm telling you right now, I'm walking out. I'm leaving the car there.
You can't do that, right? You can't
Saving
leave the
you
car
money.
there, right?
He's saving Dan money.
We are not paying for that, although I guess we are paying for that in that he's being paid to work there this week, and so that money will go to paying him wastefully parking his car there.
I wonder if Lower West Side is like a generational thing. I've never heard anyone say that except Stugotz.
Do we know if he's been to Meadowlark? Our offices are right across the street from there. Do we know if he has visited everyone
Is
else?
there anything he can steal from our office?
Going to take the under.
There's some dude wipes there, I think.
Quote, he also laughs at everything he says, no matter how unfunny it is. How can you get a sports talk radio job and not like sports? Like, what the fuck? What's the point?
Harsh. That's tough. I feel for Stugotz. And subreddit, I mean, what an insult. Why is it called subreddit?
This guy's thing is that he just laughs like a lot? What?
Steve Oddity fan.
Stugotz is Stugotz, man. He's one of a kind.
Dan, I also have an update. Jorge Robles, not Jose. Jorge. Ooh. He was 5'7". Yeah, small for a second baseman.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that correction. We pride ourselves on accuracy around here. I'm going to get Amin Hassan here in a little bit to discuss what I think is a fascinating change in sports media culture. Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas giving voice to something that offends an always classy and should offend an always classy Luol Deng, and what gets rewarded in the modern age because no one's going to listen to the always classy Luol Deng show. Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas are being rewarded for being the trolls that they are. But the thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about here, does anyone in the room remember why it is that Jerry Krause's widow was booed here recently? We've gotten a refresher course of the last 30 years of sports. Ultimate winner guy, who's not Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, ultimate winner guy, won so much that the last 30 years have been dominated by him and the guy trying to succeed him in sports coverage. Do you guys remember why Jerry Krause's widow was booed, the specifics of it?
Yeah, they showed Jerry Krause on the video board at a Bulls game and then cut to his wife right after he was up on the Jumbotron, and so fans were booing, and it was a terrible look for everyone involved.
Because he broke up the Bulls team, right?
Well, it's not just because he broke up the Bulls team, because that's part of it, of course. But the thing that sticks to Jerry Krause so much that his widow is booed after his death is that in breaking up the team, he spat, organizations win championships. And Michael Jordan's like, nah, I win championships. LeBron and Pat Riley, nah, I win championships. Belichick and Brady, nah, I win championships. And the reason I want to bring up organizations winning championships is because ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, setting the table for all media coverage for the masses, is the organization. And they are telling you now, loudly, that all of the parts are disposable around the horn. An era is ending at ESPN. 20 years of whatever it is you thought journalism was. Around the horn, we gave so many voices. Where Pablo started, where Mina started, where Bomani started. The era is ending. Tony Reali, over 20 years, Eric Rideholm and the producers of Pardon the Interruption, they made Around the Horn, they made Highly Questionable. This group of people outside of ESPN took, in 20 years, the credibility of newspapers and ended newspaper sports sections because they wanted behind them in newsrooms sports writers that said, Chicago Tribune, Denver Post, we're a global organization. We're a coast-to-coast organization. We do journalism. They killed the newspaper sports section. The New York Times was the only organization that sat out, hey, the columnists can't go give their opinions over there. We're not sharing our credibility with a news-gathering outfit that doesn't have to be a news-gathering outfit. What is getting rewarded in the modern age is Gilbert Arenas, is Paul Pierce, is Pat McAfee, is Shannon Sharpe, is a new era of how some of this stuff is going to end up happening in the future. And I wanted to ask the group, when you hear reports from the New York Post that Around the Horn is ending, when I know what those shows were for some of you, I know that for some of you, Highly Questionable was your after-school viewing. It sort of indoctrinated you in the earliest stages of whatever it is your sports fandom was into that's what sports television should or shouldn't be. The 90-minute segment from 4:30 to 6 p.m. before SportsCenter. SportsCenter used to be the biggest thing, and then PTI became the biggest thing. Pardon the Interruption's going to be the last thing standing there because those two old journalists will hang it up however they want to at the end because they've got relationships at the top of the food chain. But what I heard Shannon Sharpe say the other day that I thought was so interesting. He's got a couple of popular shows. He works his ass off. He's super single and just married to the work. He wants to compete in his 50s the way that he did as a Hall of Fame player. He goes in on Monday and Tuesdays to do First Take, and this is what he said. I don't talk to any producers. I talked to 4 people at ESPN. He named the 4. One of them was Iger, Pitaro, and he's like, you can't, because there are all sorts of reports coming out now that there's tension on First Take, and he's like, none of that's coming from me because I don't talk to anybody. I go sit in a box, I put on my suit, I talk into a camera, I'm there 2 days a week, and I talk to 4 people, Pitaro, Iger, and 2 other top-level executives. He does not get on any calls. Around the Horn was a bunch of journalists getting on calls all day so that they could be maximum informed on whatever the subject matter of the day is. But if you've got a personality like Shannon Sharpe, you don't have to do it that way. He's prepared. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't need to talk to any of the producers at ESPN. But that's a seismic shift for somebody to be coming in on their big show Monday and Tuesdays and being able to do whatever he wants. And I'm just curious, as I present all of this to you from the innards of the business, do you care if anyone leaves ESPN? Any single person leaves ESPN? Does it matter to you?
I think Stephen A. Smith is the last star. To me, he's the face of the network and the one guy that if he left, you would go, whoa, this is the end of an era.
I think, too, that block of programming you talked about, Dan, that 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock 90-minute window or whatever, you look at Reali, who's been there, 20 years. I was 12, 11 years old watching Tony Reali as the stat boy intern for Tony and for Mike, and then all of a sudden getting his own show. Like, that hurts when you tell me Around the Horn's ending, and I know Tony Reali personally, right? Like, we all do. He's part of, like, our family at ESPN. Oh, come on. Don't do that. It hurts because it's like he's so good at that job, right? Like, he is so excellent at that. And the fact that they're like, you're kind of done. It's over. And it's like, he could do this for another 40 years.
The thing about these shows ending in the capacity in which they are is that, like you mentioned before, Dan, they're eliminating sort of the team element of any of this. They're eliminating these jobs for producers who are the people who build up talent to be informed. When you're talking about Around the Horn, and like I interned there at one point, it was doing some of the behind the scenes work that helped to prepare all of these journalists for the job. Yep, I was waiting for that. But I was part of creating the research packets and going together and pulling real information for people to not look like Stugotz, who's not paying attention to the games, but to look informed as if they can actually pay attention to all of these different things. But the reason it worked is because you had people who studied these games. You had journalists with real credibility who knew how to storytell, who were then there on TV. And when you're eliminating this sort of collaborative environment and you're just propping up individuals who know it's only about entertainment, that's it. It's no longer about actually fleshing out stories. It's just about entertaining the masses. It changes all of what this has all been about for the last couple decades.
Yeah, I mean, Around the Horn, I used to watch it every day after school. I'm friends with Mina Kimes. I'm friends with Kevin Clark. I'm friends with Harry Lyles. I'm friends with Izzy Gutierrez. I would be devastated to see these people not on my TV every day at 5 p.m.
I don't believe that when you and Greg Cody talk about heartbreak here or what would be the reaction to anybody leaving, you say the reaction, Stephen A. leaves, your reaction would be, wow, and then you'd go right back to watching ESPN. You'd watch First Take as much as you already do or don't.
Right.
Like, it's not actually the bet that they're making on giant stars, but we'll pay you this much. Stephen A. will pay you not as much as McAfee. You will not have a production staff. You will have better numbers than McAfee, but you will not have the $10 million in resources that allows you to, have Belichick and who else is on the show? Aaron Rodgers weekly and Nick Saban. What he's fighting for, production. Let's partner on stuff. I want to partner with you the way McAfee has partnered with you, the way Shannon Sharpe has partnered with you. When Tim Legler can be as excellent as he is and can quietly leave, and you sort of have a little bit of a death of expertise as Kendrick Perkins gets rewarded because it's a different thing than what it is that Legler does. You have a dilution by degrees of your expertise and your commentary, but it doesn't matter enough. It's a dilution of degrees that I care about, but the viewer and the audience doesn't care so much. Like, it's obvious that it's very clear that ESPN can lose anybody and all it'll be is noisy for a little while. Mm-hmm. But the noise won't matter because organizations win championships.
That's accurate. And we see that in sports all the time. You know, there's no Michael Jordan anymore. The Chicago Bulls are still selling out games. And I think the change in evolution, in a way, ESPN is just catching up to that wave. I mean, think about it. MTV starts off showing nothing but music videos. MTV's a whole different thing now. You can't even find a music video. Food Network started off doing cooking shows. Emeril Lagasse's teaching me how to make chicken piccata. Now, Food Network is game shows and competition shows.
And they're great.
Yeah. And they're great. So ESPN, if you're an ESPN fan, and I think Stephen A. Smith is maybe an exception, but you're going to watch ESPN. You're not going to switch channels because Tim Legler is no longer there or a certain show. Pardon the interruption, I think, is a tentpole for ESPN. Obviously, that's the one show I will miss when it ends for sure.
This is part of the corroding of actual information all across television, right? Like CNN ultimately decided we want to be First Take about a decade ago. and that was like right leading into the first Trump election, because they realized as a corporate entity, we're going to get more eyeballs and advertisers if we just have people watching this polarizing thing rather than actually doing the journalism and breaking it down and giving you correct information. And that goes for Fox, and that goes for MSNBC, that goes for any of these major cable networks. So when you turn around and you look at ESPN, it shouldn't necessarily be a shock that in something in sports that's even less news-based, what of it really matters in news a lot of the time, outside of the types of stories that were on like Outside the Lines and things like that, you're going to have, of course, a decrease in people like Tim Legler breaking down the game when, you know, you can go to a podcast like The Dunker Spot with Nikias Duncan and Steve Jones,
or
you can go to Oddball, or you can go
Greg Cody show,
or you can go to, you know, guys on Twitter who are breaking down the game in threads. You can get it there rather than on TV, and they'll just go, all right, we're going to overwork these individual talents who are polarizing, who are going to give us stuff on social media, and call it a day.
It's an interesting fracturing, because if you want to be informed and get expertise, you can do so. But it stands out when Orlovsky and NFL Live are giving it to you on a mainstream outlet. It stands out when on the MLB network, all you're getting everywhere is legitimate expertise that if someone's not an expert, they will be unmasked very quickly if they do not know what they're talking about, because the fandom is so intelligent and desires that the content be smarter, better, different than other places than they get it. I would say that the content has to respect its fan base that way, but I would also say ESPN is respecting its fan base that way. It wants entertainment. It doesn't want the expertise of Orlovsky and NFL Live is good over there and stands out. It's not what they want from the rest of the shows. They want the rest of the shows to be more general.
The elimination of baseball tonight was really what kind of ended modern baseball coverage at ESPN. And we've always talked about how baseball fans are dorks. They follow the stats, everything like that. Well, when they then moved over to MLB Network, it became immediately, the moment Baseball Tonight was gone and we all had to go to MLB Network for more baseball coverage, it was leaning in to, we will cover the analytics. And that's the reason why baseball fans are so much more focused on sabermetrics and analytics than any other fandom, because the only place that they're able to go for content told them this is how front offices are breaking it down, how they're analyzing it. And so you, the fan, should be informed this way. We're over where ESPN is talking about it. They're not really caring about the information. They're just talking to you about, hey, Shohei Ohtani, is he Babe Ruth? I don't know.
Well, compare it to cooking and music shows then. Compare it to the evolution that Greg Cody is talking about of MTV becoming ridiculousness at all times. Because when it comes to, when I think about things that people care about super passionately, cooking, music, and sports are all among them. But only one of them can actually put out multiple networks a day talking about a single thing. Like, you don't have multiple music networks that are 24 hours, 7 days a week. Cooking does some of that, but ESPN and Fox and all of these other entities are occupying a space where they are giving maximum stuff to the people most passionate about sports. Compare it to the cooking and the music entities in terms of how it is that these things are digested and delivered. Do cooking shows give you expertise? They do, about cooking. Music is not giving you very much expertise about music, correct?
Right. They're not analyzing songs. They're just presenting.
They're not breaking. It's not Jack White talking about guitar chords in a way that will make people fired up, right? Like, sports occupies a unique space in inundating market passions, flogging market passions with excess, correct? There are more podcasts in this sphere. Hell, Boston alone can support about 5 major sports podcasts. Just the people who show up at the parade for the Celtics.
And Stu still can't watch the Subway Series. Jesus Christ.
Somebody writes in, Stugotz's WFAN residency 2024 is just making all of New York hate him. It's the most deserving result possible. If you have been watching and listening for a long time, you know that the joke was supposed to be, this is how Stugotz does it at the top of ESPN. That was supposed to be the final joke that we made there, where Stugotz is reading quarterback rankings into Michelle Beadle's chest, and then he parlays all of that into, I'm going to be on, pardon the interruption, arguing with Mike Wilbon. And we failed. We didn't get quite to where we wanted to, and I've been making the joke for a while, and it's not a joke, that he's going to plant the flag of ignorance at the top of Failure Mountain in my head. It's going to have no flag, and it's going to be in the head of this company.
Should we explain the Michelle Beadle thing for people that don't know?
No, not really. That's how it happened on television. It was supposed to be the start. It was her show. She's doing Sports Nation. He goes and finds her microphone, which is tied to her, I don't know whether she was wearing a dress or a shirt or a blouse or what it was, but he just shouted into her chest some quarterback rankings because he was doing 24 hours of fantasy football with Mike Golick on a green screen.
What a time. The beach ball and them on beach chairs. I was on the old Baseball Tonight set.
Well said.
Tonight site.
The two of them, Golick and Stugotz, doing that show, thinking, as I imagine right now, if I told Jeremy, Jessica, and Anthony, if I said, the three of you, go up to Bristol and you got 24 hours to do a show, and we're just going to turn the microphones on and the cameras on, and you're going to have ESPN to yourselves. The first couple of hours of that would be very exciting, and then you'd get very sad that you were in an antiseptic cold room with a beach ball and a green screen, and there were 22 hours remaining on whatever it is that you had to make.
Daniel, I do the Tony show 24 hours. We start getting cooking around 2 or 3 in the morning.
I mean, come on, Danny.
That is what they called me in college. I miss that. I miss those days of being called Danny.
And Wilbon.
And only Wilbon. That's
only
correct.
Wilbon.
And only Wilbon. The Olympics here, we talked about this some yesterday because I'm a little confounded that the world now moves so fast that opening ceremonies of the Olympics, which used to be something in America, as close as you can get to people gather around and watch something together just for the communal of it, that it's too slow for the modern age, that whatever the costume pageantry is of this is the world fake coming together at a time that the world is not at all together in pursuit of sports, we're going to put some of the packaging on it and we're going to sell it to you and you're going to gather around your television or now your streaming service to watch. Do you guys care at all about the opening ceremonies? Do young people?
I love the opening ceremony. I'm not a young person, but I love the opening ceremony. It's going to be, I think it's 4.5 hours long, live tomorrow on NBC at 1:30. And then there's going to be a condensed version, I believe, at 7:30 in prime time with Mike Tirico hosting it. And I'm very excited. I saw yesterday that Coco Gauff was named the women's flag bearer. So she's the youngest to ever be a flag bearer for Team USA. She's only 20, which every time I hear how young Coco Gauff is, my mind is blown because I have been watching her play tennis for so long, it feels like, but that's just how good she is. She's been in the national spotlight since she was 15. So she's going to be doing that with LeBron James. I'm very excited. I can't wait for the Olympics. It started yesterday. There was some rugby. The U.S. men's national team played against France. They lost, I think, 3-0.
Yeah, awful.
Which was not great. But the U.S. women's national team plays today at 3 o'clock Eastern, I believe. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I wore my Team USA, U.S. Women's National Team shirt. I'm dressed up. I'm ready to go. I'm very excited.
Who doesn't want to watch 600 athletes saunter into a stadium?
It's great. What are you talking about?
It is great.
I love it. I love seeing all the different outfits. I love seeing the fashion. I love seeing, every country has their LeBron James. And I love finding out who all these people are that I don't really get to watch every year. It's just a great
You can
thing.
walk a little faster, though.
So remind me, they're just walking in a circle?
They enter in?
No, they're doing it on the Seine this year. So it's like a river. It's like a river boat tour, I guess. And they're
so
going
we're watching
past
a parade?
Yes,
It's a parade.
It's,
That's
it's the
exactly
opening
what it
ceremony.
is.
What else would it be?
I'm out.
You don't have to watch it.
No,
It's
I won't.
fine.
Trust me, I won't.
It's great. I love the opening ceremony. I love the Parade of Nations. I love mocking the country that's got like 2 representatives, and how they pick the one to carry the flag. What about the other guy? But it's a throwback. It's quaint. It reminds me of decades ago when, sports was so integral with what everyone was thinking. The Olympics, though, are love it or leave it, I find. When I talk to people, you either love the Olympics or you're yawning about them. I don't find many people who are casual Olympics fans.
I'm pretty casual. Yeah.
I'm a big Olympics fan. I'm gonna watch it.
You say that though.
Well, you always mock me for fake enthusiasm. I love the Olympics.
Dad, I watch the way you watch sports. You never see you're always walking in and out of the kitchen. What's the score? All right, what's the Heat score? How many's Jimmy got? All right, you're not watching.
It's because the Heat play 82 games every year. The Olympics is once every 4 years. I don't watch all the events, but there's plenty of events that I am going to watch. I'm gonna watch water polo because of Flavor Flav. I'm keenly interested in soccer. I'll be watching the U.S. women play today. And so there's a lot. I love the fact that Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky are back for another Olympic gold rush at age 27, which to me is you're a child. But in gymnastics and swimming, 27 is ancient. And yet here they are again. I think that's a great story. Coco Gauff, you mentioned, 20 years old, local young woman from Delray Beach, I believe. These are interesting things. I once every 4 years, I'm a bit of a patriot, a bit of a jingoist. I unabashedly cheer for the U.S. teams. I take pride in the U.S. Olympic
It is a good and easy time to root for the United States because we win most of the medals at these things. And
I'm rooting for them too. I just don't know. I don't think you're in the category of you're a casual. Yes, you're rooting for USA. When you see a sport on, you'll root for them. But you're not into this more than the casual person.
Well, Paris is 6 hours different. Am I going to be up at 3 a.m. watching something live? Probably not.
I think it's fair. Look. You are Olympic shaming your father, and I will not allow you to Olympic shame your father at this patriotic time. I will, however, confirm your report that he's a casual when he says, I'll watch water polo because of Flavor Flav.
Damn right.
This ain't easy. You're one of the best people who's been able to get in with us. You serious? And actually get the shot on the first you were so quick for it. That was nice. I did good? Yeah. Yo, my crew said that I did good.
Yeah, great. I love it.
We gonna get that 4th star on these caps.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Yes. USA!
USA! USA!
You're a raging fraud, Greg. You will not watch any water
Greg
polo.
Yes, I will. Yeah, boy.
All right, go sit in the penalty box.
No, that was good, Dan. That was good.
Go sit in the penalty box
Thank you.
for 2 minutes.
No, Tony's right. That was good.
Go sit in the penalty box.
I agree with Tony.
Why was Buffalo Springfield in
For
the background?
2 minutes.
I was about to give you the Olympic sport that we should bring back, but if you don't want that, I won't do it. Exactly.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, asshole.
Go, Dad.
Asshole's harsh, Dan.
I didn't do it. The referee made the call on whatever it was. I sent him out, but the referee decides what it is that the call is.
I can only imagine the sport my dad is longing for from the Olympics.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. I do like to imagine the Olympics 1,000 years ago, though, before
way better. The Olympics 1,000 years ago are way better than what they're doing now. 100%. Okay.
What do you mean?
Okay, let's
better?
start with this. The torch, right? They have the torch where they bring and the people carry it into the stadium and it's supposed to be forever lit or whatever. Imagine 1,000 years ago, Dan, where you're in ancient Greece and you're like, hey, we got to run to Paris. Where's Paris? I don't know. We got to go, though. And there's a guy just running with a torch for 6 months until he gets to another guy, and another 6 months he runs for another thing. That's incredible. They just put it on a plane, go to another guy, he goes there. Yeah, who cares?
Wait a minute. I think that is the torch still not running? Is that not part of the opening ceremonies, that the torch will arrive at the opening ceremonies when we start? The torch is still out there running, isn't it?
I think they still do the torch. Why are they going to Paris?
I'm saying, you were in Greece, you're like, hey, the Olympics are this year. Hey, I got to go run to wherever we're going. Sudan.
Greece.
Okay, I got to run to Sudan now from Greece. I don't know.
I don't think we do the Olympics
What?
in Sudan.
1,000 years ago, Dan, there was
Hold
no
on.
like
but
the
by
countries
your,
like that didn't
by
exist.
your logic, didn't they
Trump?
also have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, they'd know where to go.
Different. You guys don't get it.
Where is the torch right now? The torch, they still do that thing where they very slowly take the torch.
It's a relay, right? The torch
Yes,
relay.
it's a lot of people involved, or it has been. I don't know if this is still something that we're doing in the modern age or not, because I would think that the Olympics has to slightly update itself. I don't believe that Jessica's in the majority where she gets this kind of enthusiastic still for the pageantry of opening ceremonies that are 4.5 hours of athletes sauntering into a stadium so that we can see an oiled up guy from Tonga holding the flag.
I find that a lot of the non-sports lovers in my life, we all have something in common during the Olympics. It's a very approachable sporting event that I think a lot of people understand the stakes. You want to get a gold medal, and then you kind of learn the storylines along with everyone else that's watching it, watching a sport for the first time in 4 years. And I find it to be it brings people together, Dan. It's very approachable, the Olympics. And I read that Snoop Dogg will be among one of the torchbearers carrying the Olympic flame in the final stretch before the opening ceremony of the Paris Games on Friday.
Is he going to be running? What is he going to be doing? In a car? Like, give me a break.
He's going to light up a joint with it.
I can see where the torch is, but a lot of these words are a little scary for me. Jess, can you handle this? Where is it right now? It's at the...
I can't read it.
It's at Neuilly-Grand.
Neuilly.
The Tremblay
and
France.
Tremblay en France.
And then Montreal et Bonglais.
Montreuil.
And then Canal de la Croix. That's where it will be the next 2 days, Dan.
This is your character as either cocky sommelier or a French maitre d' of some sort.
Guy trying to order sparkling water.
Oui.
Greg Cody continues to have a lot of trouble with the microphone, and now he's officially bleeding. He is holding a bandage, a napkin on his arm. What happened to you?
There's a health hazard in the studio here. Nobody's taking care of it. It's the second time. There's a key. The key is left in the lock, and it's at a level where when I'm exiting the studio, it rips my arm, causes me to bleed. The key's very sharp. Okay, it's like a brand new key. It has the feel of a key that's just been cut.
He's right about that.
What are you laughing about, Chris?
He's like disheveled right
yes,
now.
Yes, it's a tour de force.
It's ridiculous.
The praise is pouring in for the chair. Can we get Greg Cody as permanent second host, please? Someone writes in. It's been 16 minutes, and Greg Cody has talked about shoeboxes, dead animals, service dogs, crying babies, and autographs. And also someone writes in, Greg is putting on a tour de force, 5 throat clears in the span of 10 seconds, and it's only the first 10 minutes. He's given you 2 more throat clears here in the first.
Can I get a Band-Aid?
Can we get him a Band-Aid, please? He's playing
I got you,
hurt.
Greg. Man was almost killed here, Dan. You got to watch out for these keys.
Thank you, Tony.
Dave Zirin is going to join us here from Paris to get us excited about the Olympics. If the Morocco-Argentina game should get you excited about the Olympics, it's before the opening ceremonies, and we've already got a sporting event result that none of us have ever seen before, which is, hey, game's over. Hour and 15 minutes later, never mind, game's not over. We got to redo all of this. Terrible bad beat for Chris Cody, who was all excited.
Ridiculous.
That
an hour later?
An hour later, you thought you would cash that bet. You would spend that money.
I bet the tie. Who bets the tie? I bet the tie. And I was celebrating in 15 minutes of stoppage time, which is a ridiculous amount of stoppage time. And we get the goal, and I'm like celebrating. The money's in my account. An hour later, the money's gone. What the are we doing?
Jessica, what are you putting your head in your hands about?
Oh, God. I love the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Who bets a tie?
Chris.
I do.
Chris making it about himself.
I have told you before about Dave Zirin. He does a great job looking at the serious issues off of the field. He's the sports editor for The Nation. He joins us live from Paris. He will be our international curmudgeon correspondent, here to ruin all the fun at the Olympics. As Jessica says, it's a time of unity. And Zirin's here to say, no, it's not. No, it's not. Do you see what's happening in the world? It is not a time of unity, no matter how many.
I don't think I said that.
You said that you love that the sports world comes together and everybody is united around the flag.
I said that it's very approachable for non-sports fans to be interested in sports for once every 4 years.
Okay, so I've misrepresented you by saying.
I didn't say it brings everyone together.
Okay, I've misrepresented Jessica here in bringing people together and loving the opening ceremonies because it brings people together. Are you all right, Greg?
I'm getting there.
Hold it above your heart.
What do you? You've got a lot of blood on your arms in general.
Old man arms for sure.
What is happening with your arms? Your arms have a lot of wounds on them.
I have creepy skin.
That's for sure.
Zirin, thank you.
Not that kind of creepy. Although maybe.
I meant crepe.
Yes, creepy. Holy crap. All right.
Zirin, thank you for joining us from Paris, for tolerating our general incompetence. First off, the Morocco-Argentina game yesterday. What the hell was that? All right.
We don't hear you, Dave.
Dave, we cannot hear you. We will get that sorted out with
I'm going to try again. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Victory! I got to tell you, Dan, the entire situation here in Paris is filling me with a great deal of ennui. And more than a little bit of sacre bleu here in Paris. I don't know what was going on yesterday in that Morocco-Argentina game, but the anger of the Moroccan fans is being reflected in the streets of Paris. I can tell you that right now. Just some quick highlights of what I've seen outside the field. First and foremost, guns everywhere. There are 70,000 security officials in the streets of Paris and 20,000 undercover security officials in the streets of Paris with military hardware that would make Michael Bay blush. That's the first thing I would want to share with you. The second thing is that this crazy thing has happened in Paris that is getting very little publicity, where they loaded thousands upon thousands of homeless families on buses and just drove them out of Paris and dropped them off in other cities. So the city looks pretty for a foreign audience. And there's going to be a massive demonstration this evening about this very issue, which promises to be quite volcanic. And just a couple other things. Oh, just little things. There's a strike at the hotel where the IOC is staying, so nobody is getting their room service. And the opening ceremony dancers, and I'm with Jessica, I love the opening ceremony, but the dancers might be going on strike. So that's what's happening here in Paris at the Olympics.
All right. I've got a lot of follow-up questions. Have you been detained by police yet?
Briefly yesterday. I was doing a recording, a little video right outside this barricaded area where they're barricading French citizens from walking to the edge of the Seine, the river that, of course, defines the city, the Seine, which is going to be the site of the opening ceremony. So security around it is tighter than a drum. And I just wanted to do a little recording by the barricade where there was a big sign in both French and English telling people, stay away. Arrête, arrête. I don't even know if that's the word. I'm learning on the fly. Thank you. That's what it means. And a police officer, with a gun, bigger than my upper body came up to me and demanded to see my passport and held my passport and wouldn't let me go until some check was made. And it didn't matter that I had a pretty little media pass. It didn't matter that I was an American, nothing. And they are on point in making sure that people know that if you're going to disrupt these Olympics in any way, there could be violence as a result.
Is that kind of security around the river because of that threatened mass defecation event that people were talking about shitting in the river, or is it just because the Olympics are there?
It's just because of the Olympics, because the mass defecation, it never quite came off the way they wanted it to. That could be because constipation is a big issue in Paris. It might be all the coffee and cheese, but there's just hasn't been a lot of defecation in the river. Instead, there's been a $1.5 billion cleanup of the Seine, which is making people very upset because if there's rain tomorrow, it's going to bring a load of sewage and bacteria into the Seine. So LeBron might be holding the flag and waving it for the U.S. team, but he also might have a clothespin on his nose. We should look out for that.
This interview is presented by LinkedIn Jobs.
I heard that there was thanks, Chris, some also controversy about the barricades around the Seine just being like an impingement on people trying to get to work, and locals being very annoyed with the amount of barricades set up around the city. Is that something that you noticed while you were walking around as well?
Absolutement. I'm not quite sure what that means. But when you go around the city, tons of streets are blocked off by, once again, people should not be imagining police officers. You got to imagine somebody who looks like they're about to invade Algeria. It's a scary scene in that regard. So you've got streets blocked off everywhere. And worst of all, behind the barricades are tons of businesses, tons of restaurants. The Olympics are supposed to be good for tourism, good for the service industry. Yet a ton of restaurants are blocked off. I tried interviewing a guy over the barricade, but that just felt a little too Romeo and Juliet for me. So we didn't quite get that going. But it's a scene where the level of disruption of the city of Paris is far worse than I thought, and the degree of just mopiness of Parisians. Now, you could argue that maybe they're just thinking about existentialism walking down the street, but there does seem to be a little bit of, shall we say, resentment of the presence of the Olympic Games.
Explain to me where this ranks as someone who's astute about the politics around these games all the time. How does the armed personnel compared to other times? The Olympics are always heavily secured because people are worried about all sorts of political things that can happen. How does it compare to previous times you've been to the Olympics?
That's a great question. You see, one of the big tensions in the Olympic movement is, do we hold the games in authoritarian countries like, say, China, Saudi Arabia, or do we hold them in democracies like Los Angeles or Paris or Rio? And what we're seeing is that the amount of military hardware that goes into these Western democracies actually makes them more like the autocracies in China and Saudi Arabia. And that's an important point because one of the arguments that the International Olympic Committee always makes for why cities should host the games is that we are going to take these autocratic countries and actually make them more democratic just because of the presence of the Olympics. That's like bringing the gift of democracy and brother and sisterhood to a country. But the reality, and I'm seeing this in Paris, is the opposite. Paris looks a lot more like Beijing than Beijing was looking like Paris.
I don't know if this is a question that you can even answer in 5 minutes, but like, is there an ethical way to host the Olympics?
Ah, the question of questions. There it is. There are people who write whole books about how to do this. There are a lot of different theories about how to do this without debt, displacement, and the hyper-militarization of public space. There are ideas about maybe it should be like the Super Bowl and there are only 4 locations for the Olympics and you rotate through them. That's one idea. But then there's another idea that just says it's not economically or environmentally sustainable. So maybe we need to think about, actually throwing this in the trash heap and saying, let's try to think about international sports competitions in an entirely different way. Instead of trying to reform what we have, let's try to do it differently so it doesn't feel like you're turning a city into an armed encampment.
What a question.
I can't believe that we've got our first ever The Question of Questions. I think that is better. I think that's better than last week when Mike Ryan got 2 That's a Good Questions from Tommy Vitor.
There's 2 of those.
No, but the question of questions. Jessica, you just asked the question of all the questions.
Congratulations.
And I got to be honest, the question Dave Zirin is always waiting for. 4 years he waits for that question to make an emergence so that he can answer that question. Because, of course, these games are political. And you just dropped on us. It feels more like Beijing than Paris. Like, what the bleep, Dave? What are we doing? Yeah. What are we doing?
It's a great question, but if I have time to tell you, there's also very interesting politics happening inside, which is what makes the Olympics so exciting. You ask about the Olympics being political. I saw a 7-on-7 rugby yesterday, Argentina versus Kenya, and France hates Argentina because Argentina's soccer players are super racist against French soccer players. So all the French fans, as Argentina faced Kenya, were chanting Kenya. It was the loudest chant I've ever heard. Kenya, Kenya, against the Argentinians. That was pretty cool to see. But it just goes to show you that the Olympics are merely just politics by other means.
Zirin, good seeing you. Always good talking to you. If you want dispatches from Dave and his colleague, Jules Boykoff, thenation.com is where you go. We'll catch up with you again and get more correspondence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
every day except for Monday, Amin El-Hassan and Charlotte Wilder, they put together Oddball. It is a quirky, fun, super informed look at things throughout basketball and beyond. I don't know, because I have been away, I don't know how Amin has felt about USA team basketball and South Sudan's near victory over Team USA. I hypothesized last week that I thought that if South Sudan had won that game, that I would imagine it to be one of the great sporting achievements in the history of Sudan, but I don't know the history, so I may have that wrong. I want to talk to Amin about that and some other things, including, Amin, Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas saying the following of the game. Before the South Sudan game, Paul Pierce said, man, they probably even got nobody over 6'3" over there. They got basketball teams out there. Do they even got basketball courts out there anywhere? And then Gilbert Arenas said, among other things, come on, man, Cool Runnings. We're not supposed to lose to the Cool Runnings team. They don't even have shoes. They get their shoes from America. We got to ship them shoes. They don't even have basketball rims. We're losing to people who got baskets in the back. They shoot on bleeping peach baskets in dirt, no shoes. Now, Luol Deng, always classy, Luol Deng, gave a long response to this, and I will read only parts of it, and then I will go to Amin. But he says, I normally don't pay attention to these types of comments, but as an African, a leader in my community, and the president of the South Sudan Basketball Federation, I feel it is important to respond. This is for those who have asked about these comments, those who are offended by them, and everyone who has followed our stories. Growing up, I heard many similar comments, and those very remarks are some of the things that motivated me to change the narrative. Africans now show solidarity and support for each other more than ever. Moments like this are not for us to get upset and lash out. Many Africans and black people who embrace their African heritage are working hard to bring all black people closer to educating and sharing stories in historic moments. As for Gilbert's comments, they were certainly more disrespectful and cruel. Personally, I don't care much. I would never trade places with anyone. Being African is special. I will continue later in this conversation, but Amin, your general thoughts as you saw all of this unspool.
Well, Dan, first and foremost, South Sudan, going to do a little geography lesson. South Sudan is a different country from Sudan. South Sudan seceded from Sudan in 2011. It is the youngest country in the world. And even though there are many South Sudanese people who live in Sudan and many Sudanese people live in South Sudan, and we might share some customs and some heritages, they are two different countries. Having said that, I always have love and joy for South Sudan. To me, it's still one big country, and I supported their independence, and watching them do anything is always something of joy and happiness to me. When it comes to Team USA basketball, many will be shocked because of my stance on U.S. men's national team soccer, but I am a huge fan of Team USA basketball. I want them to be good. I think USA basketball being great is great for the sport. I helped the gold medal team in 2008. I was doing advanced scouting for that team, so I'm always rooting for Team USA. Yes. I'm always rooting for Team USA, except Saturday. I was rooting for South Sudan because this is something that cuts as close to home as possible. And it would have been the greatest upset, certainly in the sport, maybe in the history of all sports, because when you consider the lack of resources available, the relative newness of this program, what they've been able to accomplish, it's nothing short of remarkable. This is Miracle on Ice. This is Rudy. This is every single, the Hoosiers. This is every single one of those hokey Disney-style movies of a Goliath versus a David, and David almost won on Saturday. I just, to me, it was. I got texts and calls from people during the game. Are you watching this? People who don't watch basketball, and so it went from okay, they're up, all right, pretty good. Okay, all right, here comes a third quarter run. Well, it was nice while it lasted. Then realize, no, these guys aren't backing down. You've actually got a chance to win this game. And, for it to come down to that last play, Wenyen Gabriel under the basket, what might have been had he got that win, had he got that dunk.
Well, I do want to talk to you about what might have been, but just for the commentary between Deng and Arenas and Paul Pierce, I will continue to read from this because Luol did treat all of this as a teachable moment. He says, I'm not upset or angry at these ignorant remarks made by my former colleagues. I was more disappointed to see them coming from two individuals I've always respected. The comments made by Paul Pierce showed misinformation and a lack of research. However, he used it as a teachable moment to shed positivity once he was informed. Thank you to Paul Pierce for apologizing. That I can respect. What was your take? Because we were talking before you came on here, Amin, about what's happening in sports media, where the Luol Deng show will lose to whatever Paul Pierce and Gilbert Arenas are making.
I don't think the Luol Deng show loses. I think it wins. I think that what you just read right there is an example of Luol winning. And you might as well get to look at me, Louis, sounder ready here. But I'm going to say, every once in a while, you come across people in your life that are so good as human beings, not only at what they do professionally, but who they are as people. It makes you reevaluate yourself and think, damn, I'm a piece of shit. Grant Hill, I felt like that around Grant Hill. I feel like that around J. Cole. And Luol Deng is on that very short list of people. Luol makes me want to be better because I'm not doing enough. And this is a guy who's always done it the classy way. And this isn't his first time with controversy specifically towards his nationality, towards his ethnicity. If you remember the Danny Ferry thing, where Danny Ferry read a scouting report that he got from some source saying that Luol is the African guy who sells you fake goods on, or whatever that ignorant racist comment was, and Luol, if it was me, I would have lashed out. I would have called Danny Ferry every name in the book, the Atlanta Hawks organization, as a staff record label and an NMF and crew. But Luol didn't do that. He took the high road, and that's why he always reminds us that that is how we should all aspire to be. And that's why I always think Luol's a winner, and you can see it in that program. That program doesn't get to where it is with someone filled with vile and vitriol. It gets there with someone who's filled with positivity and class, and shout out to Luol. Having said that, I am friends with Gilbert Arenas. I am friends with Paul Pierce. And I understand what they were going for. They were going for the quote-unquote funny, despite, like I said, this being an incredible sports story. They went for the funny. And the problem is, in our society today, we have a big issue dividing or parsing between this is information and these are guys that's making jokes. Regardless, I'm always team comedy. Whether the joke is bad or good, or in good taste or in bad taste, it's a joke. The problem is people look to Gilbert Arenas as an expert. People look to Paul Pierce as an expert. Now, maybe Paul more so because he's on a mainstream linear TV show versus Gilbert just mouthing off on his podcast. But the reality is what Luol said stands. And in that moment where there was an opportunity to support something that hasn't gotten support, that isn't getting love from left and right, you could have supported it. Instead, they chose to make a joke. And I know it's in them to do that because I hear how Gilbert Arenas goes so hard for Bronny James, as he should. I think Bronny gets a lot of unfair criticism. Gilbert defends him and sticks up for him. It's the same thing, except South Sudan doesn't have a rich, famous dad who's the best to ever do it. South Sudan is the little engine that could.
I saw a lot of criticisms that were saying that, not only were these comments very xenophobic, but they also were just ignorant of international basketball and sort of what the progress that's been made with the Basketball Africa League, I believe it's called. So I'm curious, if that's something that you think that people who are talking about Team USA on TV should be educated on before they speak about these sorts of things, or if you think they're just going for an easy joke and they're not really there to inform anyone.
The question of questions.
No, Jessica, it's a great question of questions, Jessica, because first and foremost, it starts in the production meeting. Is there a production meeting? Or are they just showing up, getting makeup done, sitting down, like, what's the topic? Okay, I got it from here, right? That it starts there. Do they want to be educated, right? The South Sudanese team, forget about Basketball Africa, they got NBA players. Wenyan Gabriel's an NBA player, right? JT Thor is an NBA player. Peter Jok has been in the G League and on the fringes of the NBA. There's a bunch of guys on that team who are either NBA players or fringe NBA players to the G League, Basketball Africa League, et cetera, right? So it's not like a bunch of wild unknowns that came from the beyond the wall, and like, oh, who are these guys? We know who these people are if you watch basketball, even on a cursory level. The other part about this that's so important to recognize is that Luol, a lot of this program is out of Luol's pocket, right? There isn't this massive federation like we have in USA Basketball that fundraises year-round, brings in millions of dollars from sponsorships, and is able to pay for camps and stuff. Luol has done this out of his pocket. A lot of these players were kids that grew up going to Luol Deng camps. And by the way, yes, there are no indoor courts in South Sudan. A lot of these players grew up in either America or Australia or elsewhere in the world. You know why? Because they're all victims of one of the biggest refugee crises in the history of mankind. So not only is it, hey, we don't have a lot of resources in our country. Not only is it, hey, we don't have a lot of people rooting for us. These are people who are coming from the most dire of backgrounds, who grew up away from their homeland, who had to experience xenophobia and racism from a very young age. Yes, in Lincoln, Nebraska. Yes, in Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, right here, Cedar Rapids. Right here in our country. These guys have been victims of extreme racism after leaving a humanitarian crisis from their homeland. And yet, they all come back, they answer the call, and they represent their country. And they represent it like Luol, with class and dignity, but also with a determination to be successful. There are guys on this team that are going to get NBA looks, I hope. And by the way, that includes head coach Royal Ivey, longtime assistant coach in the league, former NBA player. This is a guy, when we start talking about who should be a head coach, take a look at Royal Ivey, because he does it without fancy courts and millions of dollars and all that. He does it with a bunch of determined young men.
Going back to like the importance of what this close game kind of meant for that federation too, I read that it's been part of the challenge has been getting players that do have dual citizenship to play for the South Sudanese team, because they have grown up in other places, and so getting them like invigorated to play for South Sudan has been part of the challenge. So going forward, like how big of a deal was it that they're now, playing on this huge stage with Team USA and showing that they're going toe to toe with some of the best American players?
Well, Jessica, I'll give you a great example from elsewhere on the continent. Nigeria is going through this issue right now, where they have, if you look at the players of Nigerian descent in the WNBA, they've got a team that should compete for a medal. If you just went by, hey, who's Nigerian, right? The problem that many of them are going through is not only dual citizenship, but these arcane FIBA rules that say, well, if you played for Team USA as an under 15 or under 17, you can't switch basically to another national team. And that makes it hard because, again, many of these kids, as you said, grew up not in their homeland, and they're taking advantage of the resources of where they grew up or where they were born here in the United States, in Australia, elsewhere around the world with more developed resources. But when it comes time to represent their senior national team, they're like, I kind of want to represent my homeland, but there's a lot of red tape and paperwork that's involved with that. So I think, it's hard to tell a kid who's 15, 16 years old, hey, I know you might have an opportunity to play somewhere else, but just keep that door open for us down the line, because they want to take advantage of those resources. They want to play at these youth levels and be competitive and be recognized and move up in the ranks. But, the reality is the FIBA rules make it hard for them to switch back. And by the way, when I was mentioning great talents on South Sudan team, I cannot stress Kaman Malwatch. He's going to Duke next year with Cooper Flagg. He was one of the biggest, most sought-out recruits. He's only 17 years old. We interviewed him on Oddball, so you can search his name, search Oddball All-Star Weekend, and just a great kid and another in a long line of very classy individuals who represent South Sudan.
Amin, two final questions here. The first, take us next to you as you're watching the final moments of the game, the heartbreak of I was a point away or 2 points away from watching what would have been what you would have regarded as the biggest upset in the history of sports.
Yes, or at least basketball for sure. I know someone's going to say, well, in cricket, someone did this. I don't care. I'm just saying it was a big deal. I was in my hotel room. I was about to do the live show for Count the Dings that we had on Saturday, which was a great success. Shout out to Bomani Jones and Nick Wright and Pablo Torre and everybody else who came out, Naima Cochran. It was a great night. But it was that afternoon, and they were cleaning my room, and it wasn't on TV anywhere. So I was watching on my laptop in the hotel lobby. It's this swanky New York hotel, and everyone's having their little cocktails and checking in and having a great time. And JT Thor hits that 3, and I went berserk, and everybody in the lobby turned around like, what's going on? I even had a woman ask me, are the soccer games still going? She thought I was rooting for Copa America or something like that. And instead, I was watching that game, and that last shot, Carlik Jones goes up with a floater. And I thought, I don't know if that one's going in. And he missed it. And when I saw Wenyan Gabriel grab the rebound, I said, oh, my God, is this about to happen right now? And I was going to freak out if it did. You know, he got stripped. Did he get fouled by Anthony Edwards? Who knows? But the reality is it was an exhibition game. It didn't really count. They're going to meet again in the group stage. Team USA will take this challenge a lot more seriously. But like Jessica implied, the symbolism of it. It was like, hey, we got something here. We're close. We're not as far. We're not Angola. We're not, the Vatican or whatever small country that gets demolished every year in the Olympics. Yeah,
that would be amazing.
Squad they have there, Dan.
Amazing.
They got a good squad forward.
The Swiss Guard.
Just the uniforms, the Vatican. The other thing that I think that you misunderstood, though, when I was saying that the Luol Deng show doesn't win here. Yes, in this back and forth, it's easy to see dignity rise above the two court jesters. But the two court jesters are the one who have media jobs that are lucrative. Luol Deng giving you classy information, I'm not sure that wins in 2024 as a show, as Luol Deng is now talking to you every day about sports the way Gilbert Arenas and Paul Pierce are.
Look, there's never going to be a shortage of people who are here just for the jokes or just for divisiveness or just for something disrespectful to be said. I'm not saying, that day is going to end. But I think, we all crave some of that positivity. We all crave some of that class. And it's not just in sports shows, and it's not just in media overall. It goes all the way to the highest levels of our country. We crave a time where people had dignity in class, and the loudmouth jokester was one guy. We used to have one court jester and then a whole court of nobles. And now it's like flip-flop. We've got a court of court gestures and a couple of noble people. But I think we all crave that return. And as long as we support it and it's good, then I think it always has a place.
Thank you, Amin. Even though the Zoom was choppy, that was well put there. The dismount was excellent. It's no longer. That's a great appraisal for just the state of sports media. A couple of nobles and everyone else is a court jester. Thank you, Amin. Appreciate it. Oddball every day except for Monday. You really should listen to it because him and Charlotte are doing it differently than almost anyone in the space.
Hold on. Do we have time for Amin to do a top 5 list of people that make him feel like a piece of shit? Because he already gave us 3. I think we just need a couple more.
All right, let's see if we can fill out this list. I was going to hit him the look at me, Louie, on J. Cole, the way he snuck that in there.
Oh,
I'm so
come on.
close.
What are you doing there?
No, that he's just so close to J. Cole that J. Cole makes him feel
already,
like a piece of shit. It's a way of him telling us that he's close to J. Cole. Number 5, Amin, people who make you feel like a piece of shit. Number 5.
Dan, it's a 5-way tie at number 1. I can't rank these people, but I'll give you 5 names.
All right, number 5.
J. Cole.
Number 4.
Okay. Grant Hill.
You can elaborate at the end. Number 3.
Luol Deng.
Okay, so now
I've known him for 20 years.
Fresh stuff now. Number 2.
Oh, you wanted me to elaborate. Yeah. Number 2. Mom.
Number 1.
There it is. Computer buffer ad.
Number 1.
Oh, and my sister. My sister. I said my parents, right? But
yeah, he
my
meant
sister.
to say dad, and then the computer buffered.
Right,
and
I'm glad we stayed with you there. See you later, Amin. Thank you for being on with us. I appreciate that my first goodbye was not the last goodbye that I wish it had been. Greg Cody, can you explain to me a little
that was
more?
A great ending.
Yeah, just wonderful. Almost as good as the ending to yesterday's show.
Does that neutralize my question of questions?
It is. You have undermined the question of questions.
I thought he was going to say like John Skipper. I don't know.
I thought he was going to say me. I'm disappointed I didn't make a mean
Yeah,
list.
stunning that you would make everything about the omission or the inclusion of you.
Yeah.
Big surprise
That
there.
kind of thing.
Why were you questioning Ron McGill's story? Ron McGill's claim that he almost died in Africa gored by a buffalo.
Yeah.
I've heard that privately you're questioning this.
Apparently not privately, because now you're talking about it on your program. I needed more details, right? Like, was anybody, the buffalo, a buffalo, right, supposedly ran roughshod over a tent?
Why is video showing a warthog?
I think these are just Ron's photos.
Again, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what questions do you have? I did
What
not.
animal is that?
That's an antelope.
Okay, there's an elephant. We love elephants.
Okay, what is it that you're questioning specifically? Because I did not witness this. I did witness the aftermath of it, and I did witness a counselor being flown into an airstrip specifically to speak to Ron McGill, because when this kind of thing happens, it is a trauma of, a pretty high order. And
Right.
so a counselor was flown into a very remote place to talk to Ron McGill because of how close he was to death and how he fell into his wife's arms weeping, because he knows if she had been there, she would have died, because she would not have had the animal expertise that Ron does to not scream, not make the noise that will make the animal, bring the animal
Right.
to you.
Who flew in that counselor?
The place that organized and
Okay.
helped organize the trip. Why
Oh,
is that your
gotcha.
question?
No, I was just curious. Did the endowment, Ron's endowment, pay for that counselor to come in?
no.
For the
Or I
therapist
just-
to be flown.
What you're trying to see is whether there's a financial scandal around Ron's lie of a story, buffalo tail, fish tail of a story that he came close to dying. What I saw, this is what I saw in the aftermath of it, because
Right.
it happened in the dark at 6 o'clock in the morning. I saw the tent that had been destroyed, and I saw that the panicked people in the tent that had been destroyed were mortified because of the number of things that broke inside of the room they were in, because the animal was bucking and crazed and scared and very close to where Ron was hiding.
Yeah. I mean, thank God Ron wasn't injured. That's all I can say.
It's not all you can say, though, because you've been questioning how close he was to actual death.
Okay, I haven't talked to Ron about this. I haven't heard the story firsthand, and so I tend to be a little bit skeptical about the near-death experience until it's explained to me. But if Ron says that he was terrified, and in his long career working with animals and eyewitnessing animals in the wild, if he says this was the closest he's come to fearing for his own life, I believe him.
If I ever do this kind of trip, I'm not getting up in the dark and walking around.
No,
Like,
me
I'm
neither.
just going to be like, I'll be here, you go out, I'll see you when you get back.
Right. I'm also not sleeping in a tent.
Well,
Are you
I mean-
insane?
You think it was a real tent?
I mean, that's the trouble when you hear the word tent. You assume it's like a little pup tent or something. I'm sure it was a magnificent tent, quote unquote tent. Is probably tantamount to a luxurious hotel room.
It was a content.
But still, God bless Ron McGill. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah,
because you were
and
questioning it.
It's
and
a misnomer that I was questioning it.
And Jessica's right that it's not like it's 10 times a tent. It's
Yeah.
a tent, but it's a tent. And
Is
it is like the sides of it are fabric.
But it has a foundation.
Hold on a
right?
second. What makes it a tent? Because a tent, back in my day, what a tent would be, you would put a stake in the ground,
Yes.
and you would tie a rope to it, and then tie another rope to another side. What is a tent over there?
Ron was hiding behind one of those ropes. One of the
So there was a rope involved.
But
Okay.
but it's 10 times the size of what you're probably imagining a tent is. It has a toilet. That's probably not something that you're imagining with a tent. It has a floor. So it's not dust and
Dirt,
sand
yeah.
or
Right.
what. So what is a tent? You guys
This ain't
tell
a
me.
tent.
You guys tell me.
That
what-
ain't it.
Not a tent. Room service. That the tent has room service.
Glamping it.
Crazy.
The tent had a pool?
No, that did not. No, the tents did not have a pool.
Refrigeration?
But you had your own pool.
No refrigeration. No refrigeration.
You had AC?
I had to sleep with hot water bottles, and I had to sleep in a burrito of blankets, like a burrito of blankets.
That's what got the Buffalo's ire.
That's what I call it.
Luxurious tent. Going, who are these show-offs living in a tent?
The hot water bottle suggests that there's not heat. There's not, like, it was changing 50 and 60 degrees in temperature. And so hot water bottles are not the most luxurious and the best way to handle that situation. Are any of you, why would you question Ron McGill in any way about a story about almost dying?
I wouldn't.
You did.
You're getting that secondhand.
You were skeptical. You were skeptical.
I trust my sources. Well, I've also gotten secondhand the information that 4 of your rim tires are bent because you're a terrible driver.
Okay, listen. I'm on record. The only thing I've ever made fun of Ron McGill for is being proud of being in a hot dog stands Hall of Fame. Other than that, Ron McGill is like a god to me. He co-wrote the Pride of a Lion book with me. I mean, we're collaborators. We're friends. He's going to be at my yacht birthday party. I mean, he'll be the tallest guy there.
The room is wondering about Amin. He was just on with us. We haven't really discussed him.
Has he been invited to your 70th birthday party?
Have not discussed that internally or externally. It's very likely he might be.
That's not.
Although he didn't put me on his top 5.
That is not
of people that
make him feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah, you'd want to be on that list.
Yeah, I thought I might have been 5.
Speaking of terrified, I want to play the press conference sound of DeShaun Foster being introduced at UCLA. I wonder if most people had the same reaction I did, which is not to poke and laugh, but to simply feel bad because someone choked in a big moment. Here is your introductory press conference. You are the face and voice for a team. We are going to introduce that face and voice to the enthusiasm of our customers, and it goes like this.
Coach Foster, welcome to the Big Ten. We'll begin with your opening statement.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be a part of this great conference. Finally putting 2 great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships, so this fits us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA. It's us and USC.
Wow. And in closing. Jeez.
I'm just basically excited. So that's it. Any questions?
All right.
Oh, God, that was hard to watch.
Yeah, that is. So that was not his introductory press conference, but he's in his first year as coach, and that was Big Ten media. It was. It was the introduction of, hey, coaches, come out here and talk about our conference and your excitement to be in our conference. And that was not excitement.
I can relate to that so much. The first 2 years I worked on this show, so many times I would just be mid-sentence like, what was I saying? Wait, where am I? Oh, man, do I relate to that.
You know what's going sideways when you start doing geography? You're like, we're in LA.
Yeah.
So
USC
with USC,
This is a really easy one to come back from. Say, I was too busy doing my job, doing football stuff to write a speech. Yeah. You want a speech writer? Get someone else. I'm doing football here, all right?
I told Sullivan we should try to get him on the show. Be like, you get another crack at it. Go ahead.
We
do it
should.
again.
We should try to get him on.
I don't think he's in the mood to have fun with this.
No? What if it was a gentle landing spot because you're providing him some understanding? I'm not sitting here laughing at it, but I believe we're all having the same reaction of, I went into it hoping I could laugh, and now I feel really bad. Somebody's just sitting in the stew of I have nothing to say.
Silence. Ooh, like 8 seconds, and then I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
That's what I mean by all this.
We're in L.A.
Yeah, that was great.
Selling your school by just saying geographically where it is and then staring at us and daring us not to be silent. Like just staring at the media and being like, well, what do you guys got? Nothing? I'm up here all alone, huh? We're in LA is all I got in my holster.
USC.
You know who else is in LA? USC. And he could have just started naming things in L.A.
Where's Lincoln, huh? Lincoln Riley, anybody?
Cafe Marmont.